Hey everyone, this is JJ. I just wanted to hop on and tell you about something that is very exciting and hot off the presses is the brand new Mathematics of the World curriculum. This was designed to be used with the Climb 1 Master Point curriculum, and it has really been 3 years in the making. And so I just am so excited that it is done, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. This is a fusion of a couple of different subjects. So mathematics, geography, history, social studies, all of those are fused together into an interdisciplinary study that will last at least 16 weeks, but probably should be 32. In the Master Point curriculum, it's designed for 1 week to be covering the text and the second week to be doing something that's hands-on. So let me tell you a little bit about how this came about. I am not a math person at all. I'm a words person. I love the words, the numbers, they make me sweaty. And so as a kid, math was not my favorite thing. It's what I did in order to survive, but it didn't make sense to me, and I just passed. I never found joy in it. Now, as a homeschooling mom, one of my goals is to expose truth, beauty, and goodness in everything that I'm doing. And one of my children is clocked just like me. So she's a word person, she's not a numbers person. And as we were going through all of the learning, I realized that we could do better. I didn't know how we could do better, but I wanted to do better. So I started doing research. In my research, I came across something called the Multicultural Mathematics of the World poster set. And what that did was have beautifully illustrated wall posters that could go onto a classroom wall that would talk about the different mathematical things from different cultures around the world. Well, that just caught my attention in a major way. And so I started researching it. And what I ended up coming up with was all of these different cultures or geographical areas or people groups, they use the mathematics to make something special and beautiful. And so by doing this research, I was able to take a subject that's really difficult for some students and expose the things that you can do when you practically use it and when you actually gain that competence well. So the different people are Navajo, the United States, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayas, the Europeans, Ireland, Russia, China, Japan, Korea, India, Babylon, Arabia, Africa, and Egypt. So as you can see, we really travel all the way around the globe in order to make this interesting. That's why it got tucked into Climb 1 with Master Point, because that's also the year that they're learning to map the world and to do a little bit of social studies with that. Now, there's several pages with pictures for each chapter that give you a text about the different people, the topic. It may be something about how they lived, how they were politically organized, the money that they used, the practices they had, the religions they practiced. It's just a really wide variety depending on what was unique about that culture. I'm certain that there is plenty more that was never mentioned in this book that could be mentioned. But what I tried to do was to get the things that were most intriguing, that would expose the truth, or would give us something to compare and contrast with. Because at the end of each chapter, there are vocabulary words that are relevant to each subject. And then there's something called the ideas worth talking about. And this is where you could have a Socratic discussion, you could do a common topic discussion, you could have a lot of fun with these different questions. And they're not answers, they're just posed as questions for the students to think about and to have a conversation. Finally, we have activities for each area. So it could be for the Aztecs, it's make Aztec hot chocolate together as a class, or practice making drums out of turtle shells as they did. It can go all over the place, from learning how to weave and using some of the skills that we have with that, to making paper is one of them, creating incense in order to understand some of the fine spices from around the world. Like, there are a lot of different choices, and each chapter has 3 to 6 different activities. So as the instructor, you get to choose what's practical for your students, what's available in your area, and just what's going to work with you. So it's going to take a little reading ahead and trying to understand what's coming and what's going to meet the needs that you have within your group. Now, this was designed to be done with others. You can do it at home. It's totally possible. But in thought, it was about a classroom setting so that the students would be able to bounce back and forth with each other with their ideas. In my theory, it was going to be about an hour long per class session. So one session might involve just reading the text out loud to each other and practicing those reading skills. I will give you a hint that some of the vocabulary words are big grown-up words, and I think that's okay. But I also think it's pretty approachable. It's just there are some solid vocabulary words that also make their way into the vocabulary at the end of the chapter. And then you might have time to do one of the discussion questions during that first hour, or it might be that you do the activity and talk about the discussion questions while you're doing the activity. It has to be free-flowing because there's a difference in class dynamic if you have 2 students or if you have 12. And so this can really be adapted to that. The final thing is that I initially came up with this idea when we were in community. And what we had discovered is that having all of our students in that classroom at the same level of math was just not practical for us to try to have a conversation about what they were learning. So when creating mathematics of the world, one of the things is that the students should continue to do their standard math that they've been doing. You shouldn't take a break from that. Everybody has to do their problem sets and just get through it and learn the abilities and the conjuring that comes from math. So that is not something that you let go of. But what we are trying to do is create a spot where you can have conversations with the students about what you do with the math, what's beautiful about it, and hopefully give them a little bit of a hope that what they're doing that may feel like drudgery every day actually has a purpose and can be used later in life to create something beautiful. I hope that helps you. Feel free to ask us any questions anytime. Take care.